Hello, my name is Maria Levine, and I am a women's romantic relationship coach. Today, I want to talk about romance. Phrases like my other half, soulmates, love of my life. What's wrong with these things? Why are they problematic? Are they problematic? Or are they perfectly fine? So, let's just define romance to start off. Romance is a strong attachment, fascination, or enthusiasm with someone. I took this off the internet, and what I removed from the definition that was in the um, post that I found was the phrase often short lived, which I find fascinating, that romance can be seen as something that comes and goes, or that it's something that we only experience for a short time. And I think that's the general idea, the general feeling around romance. Like at the beginning of your relationship, you experience it, and then as it goes on, it kind of wanes and it goes away. Now, what I want to do, and part of my mission in this world, is to teach people how to create romance on purpose, how to cultivate it in their relationship so they can have it all of their lives. We need the feeling of romance. It is a feeling that we crave instinctively. So sometimes when we're in a relationship for a long time and it lacks romance, it lacks that strong, deep enthusiasm for your other person, we wane. We go to other people, we have affairs, we create this kind of enthusiasm for someone else because sometimes it can be easier to find a new person, or we think it can be easier to find a new person to be romantic about than to reignite the flame with our partner. So I think and I know that this is something we can create once we understand it, once we know what the components of it are, what the benefit of doing it is, and then just how to do it. So the misunderstanding, the myth behind romance is that it either comes or it goes, that it's either there or it's not, that we don't really have control over it, that it is something that is outside of us. And I am here to say that that is not true. Romance is created over time by us, by the way we think, by the way we feel, and by the way we show up. And so the idea around romance is that it should be effortless, and that when we are usually at the beginning of relationships, it does feel effortless because we're not really doing anything. We met someone, we're madly in love with them, we're head over heels about them, and those strong feelings, therefore the strong actions that we take, come so easily and naturally that we don't put effort into it, or we don't feel like we're putting effort into it. But the reality is that we are taking action. It just feels like there's ease. Over time that ease goes away, and then we have to create intentionality around it so that we can still have that romance that we had at the beginning, that strong connection. And in fact, relationships are going to come in waves of intensity, right? We can't have intensity in any area of our lives all the time. It's just not realistic. That's not the way that our human brain works. We need to have contrast. We need to have some kind of coming down from it so that we can really enjoy the ups of it. So if your relationship doesn't have romance all the time, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that something is off. It just means that that's how relationships work. They come in intensity, they flow, and we can always, when we're at that low point, we can always work to bring it back up and to create more of those strong emotions that we want to be feeling towards our partner. So everybody experiences romance differently. This kind of goes into love languages and how we like to experience love and how we like love expressed to us. So for some people, romance might be flowers and candies and jewelry. For other people, right, that's gifts. Those things that I just mentioned, that's a love language. For someone else, it might be a date night or a surprise evening with your person. For another, it might be you did something for them, right? You were thinking of them and you went out and you changed their tires, right? That's so romantic to some people that you thought of them and then you took action for them to make their lives better. So if you are familiar with love languages, you can learn to express love in the way that your partner hears it, not just in the way that you like it to be expressed or that you would like to hear it. And that's going to be part of this romance, is knowing your partner, knowing what they like, and then taking action to communicate that love specifically for them. So part of romance is knowing your partner, being familiar with your person, and then showing them that they're on your mind and that you adore them to pieces. So for the most part, I think that romance is a great thing. If we use it well in our relationships, if we use it for our relationship, it can only grow that deep attachment that we have to our person. It can only really benefit. Think about the word my other half, right? Think about how that feels if you believe it when you think about your person and you call them my other half, right? It's like I am now feeling a sense of completeness because of someone else, because of another person. That in and of itself can be beautiful. That in and of itself does not harm you or the other person, especially if you are in a cohesive relationship, you're happy, you're healthy, things are going well. Same thing with soulmate. Thinking about your person as your soulmate creates a depth to your connection that thinking of them as your partner or your husband or your wife might not. And so it adds a layer of, it's almost like supernatural, right? Like I found my other half, I found my soulmate. And thinking of your person as fated for you is just really nice, and it creates this deep feeling of I know I'm supposed to be with this person. Same thing with the love of my life. It just adds this certainty that you are where you are supposed to be. Okay, that being said, of course it has another side. It is also and can be problematic, because by itself saying my other half implies that you are not whole. Okay. It says that you need another person to complete you. And if you don't have that other person, if you are waiting to find somebody in order to feel complete, then the phrase my other half or waiting for my soulmate might cause you more problems than benefit you, because then you don't get to feel whole. You don't get to feel complete until, right? You don't get to feel, you're out there searching for people, and if someone isn't perfect, if they don't match your list of requirements, then you automatically assume they're not your soulmate, and then you have a harder time finding the person that might be perfect for you because you're out there looking for something very specific or what you think feels like your soulmate. And therefore, you're not giving other people a chance. You're not letting the person become your soulmate, right? Because inherently, soulmates kind of just come whole. They already are your soulmate. And so the reality is a lot of people become each other's soulmate. They learn each other and they not change, but they meld together and they grow together and develop this deep, beautiful romance and relationship that if you assume that your soulmate should come automatically completely matched for you, you might not be able to experience. So there is a flip side to that. You should, in an ideal world, feel like a complete person first. Feel like you are whole, and that having another person in your life would only benefit your life. It would only be the sprinkles on top of a beautiful sundae that is your life. When you come to dating with that energy, you are way more likely to find somebody because you are sufficient, you are abundant, right? Nobody likes somebody that is coming with a desperate energy, a needy energy. That energy tends to scare people away. So that can also be the problem with phrases like my other half and soulmate, is that if you aren't already in that connection, or you are using it as a way to frame the way you search for people, it might be a detriment. Okay, so you have to be careful, because romantics also have a tendency to be in relationships and leave, be in relationships and leave. They tend to, they don't really stick around a long time for in one relationship because the romanticizing of a relationship makes it so that once they hit a problem, once they hit something that feels very difficult, the fact that they think, well, it shouldn't be this difficult because we're destined to be. If I were with the person that I was destined to be with, I wouldn't have to work so hard. I wouldn't have to overcome such a huge obstacle. Therefore, this isn't the person for me, and I'm going to leave. And I'm going to go find the person for me. And then they keep repeating this pattern, never sticking in the relationship long enough to make it work so that they can create their soulmate, so that they can build that life with the person that they can be with. Because in their minds, it shouldn't be this hard. And if they were really their other half or their soulmate, then they wouldn't have this problem in the first place. But the truth is, we're going to have difficult problems in our relationships. That's the cost of being with another human being. At every point, with every relationship, unless you're extraordinarily lucky, you're going to have to overcome something that feels monumental. And then that's when all of your beliefs are going to come up of like, okay, how dedicated do I want to be to this person, to this relationship to overcome this? And if you stick with it and if you show grit and commitment, you will overcome it. And then that bond will deepen with your person. And then you will have more romance, more connection, more intimacy, all that good stuff. But you have to get to the point where you are willing to overcome that. And sometimes people with this mentality are not willing. They don't believe that they should have to. And that is how these ideas can be a detriment. And then there is the language that creates our bond. And that is how these phrases, this idea of romance, can be very positive. So, like I was saying, if we have the expectations that romance needs to look a certain way, we might be less likely to stick with it because it doesn't necessarily look as easy as it shows maybe in movies or in books or wherever you get your idea of romance. Maybe it's just in your mind. If we don't have realistic expectations for how our relationships are going to look, how difficult they can become, then we might not have the resilience to persevere past it. So that's the one side. That's the negative side of romance. And then there's the other side that I talked about first, which is using those phrases once you're in that relationship with someone to deepen it, to deepen the strength of your bond, to deepen your love with them. Believing that about them is a choice you get to make. It is a belief that you get to practice if it's not something that comes natural to you. If you want to, right? You don't have to force yourself. Don't make it seem like if I have to believe that this is my other half. But you can work to believe that because working to believe that deepens your bond to that person. And you can start to look for evidence as to how this person is the love of your life. You can start to believe that if you want to. And once you start to believe that, you will see how much deeper your emotions become towards this person because these are powerful phrases. Language is very powerful. And the language we use towards our relationship can frame the way we think about it and the way we feel about it. So you can use this kind of language to strengthen your bond, or you can use it against your relationship. So be very careful with romance. It is a tool. It is something that you can use for the positive or use for the negative. And you just want to be conscious of how you are using it.